Cats Who Stayed for Dinner by Phyllis Rowand. One evening in spring, a man and a woman moved into a new apartment. Just outside their door, there was a garden. It was a pretty garden, with flowers and grass, and even a tree. They were very happy, because it isn't easy to find a real garden for your very own right in the middle of a big city. The next morning, as soon as they woke up, they ran to the window to admire their garden. But what do you think they saw? Cats. They saw so many cats, they almost couldn't see the flowers, or the grass, or the tree. Big cats, black cats, little cats, yellow cats, white cats, gray cats, kittens. Cats with spots and cats with stripes. And every single cat was skinny, scraggly, scrawny, and smudged with the soot of the city. And every cat had fleas. "Oh dear," cried the man and the woman. "There are so many cats in our garden, there isn't room enough for us." They shouted, "Go away! Shoo! Go home!" But the cats only sat and stared at the man and woman. They could not go home because they had no home. The little garden was the only place they had to call their own. All day the cats played in the pretty garden. They chased the bugs and the butterflies and smelled the flowers and climbed the tree and played a game of tag along the top of the fence. They had a very good time. But the man and the woman did not have a good time at all. They wanted to sow flower seeds and mow the long grass and dig out the choking weeds and rest in the sweet spring sun. But with all those cats in the little garden, there simply wasn't room enough for two. That night, the cats disappeared. They went out in search of food. Every night they had to look for leftovers that had been thrown away, or since they had no home, they had no one to feed them. The man and the woman went into the garden. They found a big hole under the fence. "This is how the cats get in," they decided. "We will fill it in, and then we will have the garden to ourselves." They filled in the hole under the fence. They hurried to the window to admire their garden. But can you guess what they saw? Yes, cats. The big cats had climbed over the fence. Then they had dug a new hole under the fence to let the kittens in that were still too little to climb so high. Every day the cats played in the pretty garden. They would not go away. The man and woman were the ones who had to stay away. They could only look at the weeds growing stronger and the grass growing longer. They could only look at the sun and their tree. They were most unhappy. One evening, the woman found that there was a bit of milk left over after supper. "I may as well give it to those skinny, scraggly, scrawny cats," she decided. She poured it into a pan and put it in the garden. That was on Monday. On Tuesday, she ordered a whole extra quart of milk from the milkman. By mistake, of course. You know what she did with it? On Wednesday, she bought too much chopped meat in the butcher store. Another mistake. On Thursday, she came upon an extra dozen eggs in her shopping bag. But they did not go to waste, for eggs are fine for cats. On Friday, the mackerel in the market looked so firm and fresh that the woman completely forgot that they were having supper with friends that evening. She bought some mackerel and brought it home. Then, of course, she couldn't throw it away because she knew how cats feel about fish. "Now mind you," the woman warned the cats, "just because I give you food, you mustn't think I like having you here in our garden. I just happened to have bought this extra food by mistake." The cats sat still and stared at her. Then they all closed their big, round, yellow-green eyes. On Sunday, it rained. From their window, the man and woman could see the cats huddled together under the weeds. "I don't have much to do today," the man announced. "I think I'll rig up some kind of shelter for those cats. Just for something to do." He made a tent of striped canvas and stretched it over a corner of the garden so that the cats would have a dry place to sleep. But remember, he scolded, just because I've made a shelter for you from the rain, you are not to think I like having you here in our garden. I just happened to have nothing else to do today. The cats sat still and stared at him. Then each one winked one big, round, yellow-green eye. And so the summer went slowly by. The cats began to be not quite so skinny, scraggly, scrawny, because the woman fed them every day. They began to feel good. And when cats feel good, as you've probably noticed, they begin to wash themselves. They washed and they washed and they washed away their smudge of city soot. They washed so hard, they even washed away their fleas. Then one day, winter came. All of a sudden, it snowed and the wind was wild. The man and woman stayed indoors, warm and snug. The cats huddled together under the icicles in the little garden. The man and woman almost couldn't see them through the thick frost on the window. But they knew they were there, because now they knew that the cats had no other place to go. I think I'll do a bit of building at my workbench in the basement, said the man. Just to get some practice, you understand. He worked all day, hammering and sawing. He worked almost all night, too. The woman could not sleep for all the racket he was making. Bam, buzz, bam, bang, bang, bang. And she could not sleep in the quiet in between, because then she could hear the mewing of the cats in the cold quiet of the snow. In the morning, she ran to the window. What did she see? Yes, cats. But look, what else? A row of tiny houses. They went into the garden, the man and the woman. This time he did not shout and stamp. This time she did not scold and swish her apron. This time they said, "At first we did not want you here, but now we must admit that we've come to like having you for our very own. We know now that there is room for all of us in this pretty garden." The cats sat and stared at them. But this time, their big, round, yellow-green eyes smiled. The end.